All right, everybody, we should have a good one. We're on Cox's Push. We just had a fairly close one on Garland Stand. It was a little bit more typical of kind of the 1862 Garland Stand experience. And so, to a degree, we'll see how that translates here on Cox's Push. Of course, there is no artillery, and even though there isn't a lot of artillery on this map, anyways, in 1862, it's kind of a small number of pivotal guns situation. And so I've actually seen Cox's Push roll through once before. It ended up being a pretty commanding Union victory. We'll see if that holds true again. So for those of you who don't know this map, the point of contention is, well, it's kind of all over the place, but it's closer than that unit down there. You'll know that you're on cap when it says that you are capturing. But we have the Hessians here. We have one unit. I don't recall if that's the line or the Grenadiers that have the Union Jack, but they are there. One of the units that Hessians is here. That means the other. Eventually, I'll learn this. Whoever has this is either the other line or the Grenadiers, and those are the last company of Hessians. We'll see where the Americans come out, but you can see that so far the British. I mean, this thing has been going on for a week. Like, you'd think I would know who these sides are. You would think I would know. They're hugging that stone wall pretty tight. It looks like we have.
There they are, boys.
Yeah, we have two American flags, or two American companies' flags who are there. Yeah. Don't know where the others are. It looks like there might be a third that went hot. Or actually, those are probably Brits at the rocks. If there isn't more to follow this up, I don't know if it's going to have the oomph to land. Or even to take that many tickets, but we will see. I am admittedly giving you a bad angle. I thought some of them might make it a little bit further into melee. But yeah, that certainly was not the full American team, so it wasn't a full send, which means that this is going to be a wipe of those Americans, some of whom are still reloading, while there are people in red and blue who are meleeing them. But these things happen, so maybe it's all part of the plan. And those appear to be Americans. Maybe those were Americans, actually, that we saw up at those rocks a little bit earlier. As you can tell by this map, cover is hard to come by. Right? There are little islands of rocks. Usually you're dodging a little bit of arty. There's this half stone wall. But it's a lot of open field between right the two sides. Stone wall there is important. The corn changes all that and makes it a big old concealment area, but that edge of the map, I get it, the Union or the Americans, I get why they want it, but it can be difficult to defend unless you're willing to just risk being in a melee, as in this case the British come through. Americans are capping. That's far more than National Decay, and it's going blue, so plan might be to attack. This is also something that Union's been doing quite a bit in 1862. You know, if the CSA is going to run away, then you might as well bring them to you, and there's no better way to do that than through an early cap. Now, with an early cap, that means the counterattack is going to be 20-something minutes. We'll see how the British respond. They clearly know they're there, and they're not worried about that company. You can see 2nd American Company working their way over. The 3rd and 4th are back there. And that's a unit of Hessians, more Hessians. So maybe they'll sit on the backside, right? Because we have the either company of the line or the Grenadiers, and then the other one is here. But maybe the Redcoats are kind of the wings of this V, and maybe the Hessians are moving into it. And so far, it's still just the one American company down there. They're about to be countered by 2nd Company of the Hessians this time, I think before friendlies make it in. So the Brits seem content to shoot it out for now.
Do you see him left? Do you see him left?
I do. Alright, so that company's going to maybe come on down and join it, or maybe they're just trying to hold a juncture. Not sure where the rest of the Americans are going to end up coming here to help relieve pressure on the sizable American company that seems to have shot that one British company all the way back there. They're now dealing with the Hessians in turn. I mean, Hessians have not been there that long. And they're already going to want to think about getting back. Yeah, that's just more Americans throwing more weight on that cap. And now there's the third company that's up there. So Brits are going to have to come up with something. They certainly have the time to do it. On tickets, it's probably slightly British favored, but they still have to win the recap. And as you can see, so the Americans are going to try to move out to the rocks up here. I guess that makes sense if you want a little bit of a, well, given the size of that company, maybe a lot of a roadblock, speed bump, whatever it is, to deal with the company up there. But you can see here the Brits are countering with the other three companies. Oh, and I guess that was them recapping. That's right? Cap is weird on here. So overall, the Brits are slightly ahead. I guess the Americans just didn't get enough cap weight on to prolong that. But I think the American attackers can be okay with the ticket burn rate at, 39 minutes now? Yeah, they got about a third of the way through battle ready. Meanwhile, the Americans themselves are about halfway through battle ready. So, not going great for either side, but it's not terrible either. So, we'll see. Probably the defenders aren't too keen to take this fight forever. Though, if they do cede the field here, and I were the Americans, I'd probably just come right back to cap. I mean, why not? Especially with that Hessian group getting off late. I don't know if the Americans could do anything about that from range. I guess they cannot. So they'll pull back. So I guess the Hessians are going to stand just off cap, and I'm not too sure what the Brits are concerned about. Yeah, there's some Americans who are running around out there. I don't know why. Yeah, I'm not really privy to what the Americans' thinking is here. They seem like one company wants to give it to these Hessians who would wisely, pull back. If Hessians and Redcoats way up there, and so I guess the calculus is that there are only two British companies over here. Maybe the Americans are going to try to throw all four at them. If so, they need to have the running boots on. Yeah, Americans are going to pay for it on the way in. And they are paying for it. Holy moly. I don't know. If there's a company of Americans up there who are shooting, this is probably not going to go great. I mean, that's all corn there, so there's not too much for us to see, but yeah, certainly saving the flag would be a good idea. Yeah. Alright, so Brit Company is moving over here. I think the Hessians are happy to sit there. I mean, that's a fairly chunky line. Brit's flag is still up, though. And so even if a couple of Americans made it in here and did some damage, they look like they're going to go engaged first. And the Americans look like they're basically just waiting for people to come in off of flag. So the Brits who are down there have numbers. They're going to win the reload race. And as long as they remember that those pointy sticks also shoot, they should be able to deal with this, absent some reinforcements. And I guess that British company is just going to elect to do some real long-range shooting. Am I missing the 4th American company? It must be up here. Yeah, okay. So there are 3 flags here. Well, that might eventually turn things. I don't know if the Americans don't realize that there aren't people down here, or they just don't care, but certainly those would be the prime targets.
Somebody's in the car. Somebody's in the car. Watch your car.
It's true.
In the car, gentlemen. Find the car.
Yeah, I'm not sure what... I'm not too sure what they're doing there. But look, this American company, if nothing else, it's one company who's taking 2 British companies out of the action. And in a game in which there are only 4 companies on each side, that means the Americans have a 3v2 opportunity. They just seem completely unconcerned or unknowledgeable about what is down here. Who are our officers here? Alright. Oh. Well then. Yeah, so that'll certainly allow the Brits back here with 2 companies to finish getting healthy if they had anybody left on spawn. That's a big company. Whose leader must be on flag. That was a better volley. They dropped the flag in return. Man, these are not short volleys. I mean, for the Americans, they're certainly downhill. Alright, so those 3 American companies, they trying to get healthy. I guess they're going to try to retry the corn, or I guess the Americans want to come back and talk about it. Well, I can't say that I've seen this before, but I guess the Americans are going to elect to trade volleys back here. And hey, kudos to those Hessians who actually killed someone with that volley. All right, but I do not know this tactic. Unless this tactic is, we're not really sure what we're doing. Alright, so all you've missed is some really, really long range, ineffective volleying. But it looks like the Americans might be moving into a position to test the stone wall here. I guess they've got their protractors out, and their calculation is that the 4 companies they have can overwhelm the 2 that are in the corn. And the Brits' calculation, well, I guess these guys are going to be the sacrificial companies, but I guess the British calculation was that the guys in the corn, that was an early volley. We'll see if they're able to get their reloads. They probably can. But if they can't, they may have wanted to just hold those loads for confirmed kills. Yeah, those units need to be moving unless they're that confident that they're going to be able to do this. It sounds like the Brits, though, have their second load. And this is going to be a far more effective volley. You know, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. It's probably because there's a ton of smoke in front of them. And then the other 2 American companies, on a bit of a delayed charge, are going to make it in over here. Oh my goodness. Do it. Do it. Good, man. Now, I guess you risk it and just bring it forward. Of course, men in your company haven't been able to respawn, but you got the corner for now. It must be the actual 4th American company, and so I think the Americans got a resounding win in this corn. Or at least they will. On tickets, it don't look great. The Americans got about 1/3 of engaged left. The Brits got about 2/3. The Americans might clean up here on the back end, but I think it's probably going to be a lot of information deaths. for the Brits, but it will be something, and it also means the Americans now have the corner, the juncture, whatever it is you want to call that, but they have it. Can be challenging to defend because, again, you can't see the Brits go in anywhere up there. I mean, the flags, you know, the other side knows what they're doing. They're going to be a bit of a diversion. And so then the other side just kind of comes through. I'm not too sure what this is, but the more you know, man. All right, so we'll see how the Brits respond. I mean, it's two healthy companies. And the flags for the other two. So everybody will be able to respawn for the Brits. It's just a question of when they do it. If the Americans were healthy enough, maybe they would go to cap. Because they know that they can get 4 flags in action against, well, 2 whole British companies and 2 other British companies that are trying to respawn people. But every second or two that they wait, yeah, see, those guys probably, yeah, both those companies pretty much just spawned main, and they were able to get their flags back, and they're basically up to full strength. And so, you know, as the Americans, it's a dilemma because the Brits wanted to, they could just sit back, they can control range. For whatever reason, Brits usually seem to do better in a shootout, like in a long-range shootout. That's on every map that I've seen. I don't think there's anything really remarkable about that. It just seems that Americans tend not to have a great long-range shootout with whoever the British are that they're playing. But these British, being the defenders and on this map, they can always just pull back to wherever they want if they get tired of this. The Brits seem to be having a pretty good ticket trade, even though they're mostly just out in an open field. They do get to shoot downhill. The people they're shooting at have either a stone wall as cover or corn as concealment. Interesting to see what the Americans do. I think their choices are limited so long as the Brits stand off here. I mean, maybe if they're hitting all their shots. I have no idea how that Rambo made it up here. Maybe he was hiding behind one of these hay bales the whole time. But anyways, sure the Americans are a little concerned about dividing themselves too much. If they send only a company to cap, it might get shot off cap. If they send 2 or more companies to cap, there's the concern that the Brits will be able to come through the corner and retake the stone wall that the Americans just paid quite a few tickets for. And now the Americans are moving a company back across that field. I thought maybe the Americans would start leapfrogging some companies toward the point, using the half stone wall, the tree, and some of the bushes down there, even if it is a bit of low ground.
We're doing fine here. If you need help, just let me know.
That is true. They are doing fine. Americans got to make a move here. I'm not too sure about this. This feels more like a defensive play, where the guys who are aiming, right? Yeah, I mean, I think we're down at about eye height. Yeah, they should be able to see those guys up there.
I know, we're holding this side. Alright, gentlemen, independent fire. Northwest direction. That way.
Yeah, they gotta start making some progress here on getting the Brits down to taking losses. So the Brits tried their luck, punch it through here on the right. It looks like they're going to get it. Well, they're going to make it through. So the company that moved all the way over there to independent fire and was supposed to hold the right didn't even do that. Although I'm just really surprised the Brits took that fight at all. But with the Americans having a unit on cap, they probably saw an opportunity maybe to regain this foothold, but the Americans don't even send a full company. Alright, so the Americans are down about a third of a morale stage. You can see the Brits top. Moving their way to the right. But the larger point there is that's just, it's my thing. I guess you have to defend it. But it's an odd way to defend because, well, maybe I'll let the image do the speaking. The people who are defending usually should have the shooter's advantage. You shoot while the other side moves. But no. I mean, these are great initial attacks, as you would expect, the element of surprise. But it kind of seems like the Brits are now attacking piecemeal after they did so well earlier. And there's another British company up there. Authentic American Revolutionary War banter. Yeah, and so in the end, yeah, there's a lot of dead, but I don't know. I guess it pushes the Americans closer to breaking and final push, but with 19 minutes left, I don't know that the Brits really have to push them that hard. All right, well, I guess some Brits are going to try it a third time. But it's hard to see if that was even a full company. I mean, yeah, it might be. But it's certainly some stragglers who are pushing in here, not meeting with much success. Americans are about to go breaking. I don't know. Brits got like 2/3 of taking losses, so I'm not sure where the Americans' tickets are going. They seem to generally be dying together. No doubt those are Brits because they are. I don't know, man. If those companies there, we have another company that's just out here. I'm a little curious why the Americans are still on that side of the stone wall. I mean, if you have two friendly companies there, you don't have to worry too much about that part of the corn. That is kind of a consequential melee up there. And these Americans are like still looking like, does nobody know what is going on? What is this? I have never seen a team this oblivious to what is going on behind them. Do they have no officers and NCOs? Have they all done to each other what I've done to them and mute them? I don't know. This almost looks... Yeah. That was a case of one Hessian company charging, I think, 2 American ones, and it did not go well. And oh my goodness. After about a good 2 minutes of being shot up, the Americans have now finally hopped on the other side of the wall. There's almost nobody left. And those Americans up there, they're going to shoot with those who are in skirmish. So, since they're not set anymore, those Americans, this is a concern for anybody on this side of the stone wall, but I thought the Americans maybe had an opportunity to claw their way back in, but I don't see it anymore. I have zero idea what that's doing. I mean, they're not engaged with anybody. They're going to allow this company to get destroyed, and then all of them are going to come together and push you out. And in the meantime, you don't really have anywhere to fire accurately from. Right? The best bet is them, and you don't even seem to be aimed at them.
Here, they're coming up from the bottom wall. Form up on that line.
Oh, yep. No, they're gone. Yep. We'll see. Luckily for them, those 2 American companies who were at the rocks, pushed up to them, have now just kind of seated them. Now, this Hessian company, we're going to see if they also, like their brethren, decide to charge into at least greater numbers of companies.
Those are not friendlies. Independent fire. Independent fire. Do not charge. God damn it. Stay here.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Some people, I don't know if that was ordered or what, but unfortunately going forward like that gets you killed by them shooting, and now for your friendlies who are left, they're now going to get meleeed by those who just shot your friends. You know, those piecemeal charges out of the corn earlier, I don't think would have worked against a more organized American team, but I think when they're clearly this disorganized, anything would work. Oh, flag. After all that running, don't take it in. That was a pretty cool ragdoll. Yeah, so the Brits here are going to recap. They might be in breaking. You see the Hessians are going to push those folks back. But the Americans are like, I don't know, you got like 40% left of breaking, and the Brits haven't even gone into it yet. So the ticket gap has widened. You can see the redcoats are just standing out there. And that field completely cutting that off. Alright, Brits go breaking, but what do they care? Looks like the Americans are going to try to roll up on their flank, and the Brits are going to skedaddle out of there, so they can't profit off of that. But look at how quickly the Brits react to Americans coming up on their flank versus the obliviousness of the Americans down there. Just absolutely no idea that there was people in the corn, people out in the field shooting at them for minutes. Because the Brits have built up such a ticket lead, they can do exactly what they're doing. They basically built their own lead wall here, which is the company of the line and the Grenadiers. And as big as this map is and as open as it is, you know, once you embed yourself on a point, it's real costly to attack it, you know, inside 100 or 70 yards. Just because, you know, each side has about, yeah, I mean, 200. I mean, the Americans are down by 10. That doesn't help. Right? It's not the cause, but it certainly is a contributing factor. But they also might be down by 10 because people who have maybe played the round earlier under the Americans got the sense that this wasn't going to be that much fun, and maybe they rotated over. Or just more of those people left. Alright, so the Americans look like they're grouping up. At least some of them are grouping up here on the left. Yeah. But it's too little too late. The Brits already see what's happening, and they're moving now so that when the Americans move, basically like a boxer, they can just set their feet and throw punches, except they're going to be throwing something different. So the Hessians are here to do it. They didn't really have any great targets before, so they're just going to be able to shoot whoever comes in this way. And I'm guessing those line folks there, they're going to present the Americans with an ultimatum. You can come and deal with us, or we're just going to shoot you. Yeah. And again, the British company is working together. This is the Hessian flag, but the other Hessian company is joining this. I would bet that one of the other companies... Yeah. Or maybe they just told the flags to stay there. Which is smart. You do have a movement over here from the Americans. But having crunked the first wave, we'll see how many of these Hessians have loads to deal with what's coming down now. A lot of them look like they're in melee mode against a few Americans. Others have to be reloading. They have some independent fire. But I was going to say the Hessians have a trump card in that they can bring the Brits to their side if it ever got close. And they're going to bring, just for good measure, another British company in, while that American company is still way up there. Right, so it's a game of angles. Putting the protractor to use, and then reaction time. And the Brits are going to get the win, and they deserve it. They've looked like the better team for much of this match. Excuse me. Americans are going to try to grab the corner here. Again, they might get it, but I doubt it. And at this point, when you're just in YOLO charge mode, and their side basically has buck and ball, I mean, it's miserable. You're just looking forward to the next round at this point. So the Brits won the map before this, Garlands, which is definitely winnable for the defenders, with and without Artie. And they're going to win this one here. So the last round felt a good deal closer. And at 48 seconds, I'm guessing one last charge from the Americans. Last samurai charge from those Americans. And the counter charge. Alright, well that'll do it for me. Let's take a look at the casualties and we'll get out of here, but clearly the British have a way to win this map.